what's up, and welcome to episode 4, One Album Only. Well, tonight's episode will be about the great Overkill album, The Years of Decay. But before we get started with this great album, let me stress to you that I am a huge Overkill fan. As you can see, I got my Bobby Blitz autograph when I met him, and the picture of me and him, and album, and picture disc, and my shirt, whatever. But let me tell you something. This is by far the best thrash metal band of all time. Now, I know some people could argue that because there are some great thrash metal bands out there, and they had some great thrash metal band albums. But all these bands either disappeared or swayed away to some other kind of genre, or maybe changed up their style a little bit for the record company or whatever they wanted to do. But Overkill never did that. And as a matter of fact, they never stopped putting out albums. They got 16 studio albums, with the latest one coming out just last year, which is awesome. And the first one was back in the early 80s. So, before we get started though, I do want to say one more thing, that if you've never seen Overkill live, then you gotta see them, because they are one of the best live acts you will ever see. And if you're going to try to argue with me on that, make sure you've actually seen them live before you try to compare them with any other band. Because I've seen so many bands live. I saw almost 50 bands in a little over a year's time. So I know what a good live band sounds like. And Overkill is it. And the reason I picked The Years of Decay to be the first Overkill album that I will actually go over in this show, because this album right here, first off, the cover is awesome. So it's got the picture of Charlie, their little mascot. You know, they've been on almost all their albums. It was on their first album and their last album. Also, the thing about Charlie that's kind of funny is this kid I was working with brought this shirt in one day he was wearing. Some, pussy-ass band, Avenged Sevenfold. I'm sure you've heard of them. Anyways, he's wearing the shirt, and I'm like, hey, dude, what is Charlie doing on your Avenged Sevenfold shirt? He's like, what do you mean, man? This is their mascot. So first off, people have stole their idea. I've seen it on different kind of clothes brands before, too. Well, it all started with Overkill. So this album right here came out in 1989. So what makes this a great thrash album for the time especially is because, thrash was pretty much at its peak in 1988, 89. And so this thing really hit the spot. And it came out, and it has a great production sound, and it has these great songs. First off, you turn the album on and you start listening to it, and it builds up into Time to Kill, which is an awesome song. And it goes right into Elimination, I Hate, which is probably my favorite on the album, Nothing to Die For, and then there's these great songs, Birth of Tension, and Who Tends the Fire, Evil Never Dies, and then, there's these other songs that are slightly different, but still frickin' heavy, and still Overkill, and it makes you really, really like the song, like, Playing with Spider's Skull Crusher, and, The Years of Decay, the actual title song, which is a great, great song also. Well, by this time, this is their 4th album, and, obviously they're all good albums, like I mentioned before, but what makes this one really good for the time especially is, for one, the producers finally get it right. Sometimes it's hard to capture that sound of a great band on an album. Well, let me tell you, this album right here, they hit it off perfect. And, if you listen to the first few albums, his vocals, Bobby Blitz Ellsworth's vocals, definitely progress to the point on this album. It's kind of where you start to hear it. And that's kind of where it stays, You hear a little bit of all of that in the first few albums, but finally he finds a spot, I think, in this album, and then continues it on with the rest of the albums. You can't really go wrong with a band like this. I mean, I don't know how many live acts you've seen or whatever, but let me tell you, when I saw them, man, I was blown away, dude. They hit everything on the spot. Not only that, but meeting Bobby Blitz Ellsworth was one of the coolest dudes I ever met. I mean, we hung out for a little while and drank the same beers I drank. Coolest dude, man. So down to earth. Doesn't really, not bothered in the fact that you're asking him questions about the band and different albums and stuff like that. And totally a cool guy, man. Just hung out and was cool with taking pictures with whoever and signing it, and and just really, really a freaking cool guy, Well, the great thing about this album too is the guitar riffs. Man, they just hit the spot, man. There's only a single guitarist who does all these great riffs, and Gustafson is his last name, and you got Dee Dee Verney on bass. Obviously, him and Blitz are the two original members and still are. The bass for Dee Dee is just like, man, it's pounding and it hits the spot. You can hear it, and it's not in the background, overdone by the guitar or drowned out by the drums. I mean, it's got its own spot. He really is the rhythm section. And Bobby's vocals, man, are like perfect on this album. Everything just comes across really good, and it's aggressive. And man, every time I hear it, man, it makes me happy. I mean, songs like I Hate, Time to Kill, man, these are great, great Overkill songs, Birth Up Tension, Who Tends the Fire, Evil Never Dies. Man, I can go on and on. This album is probably one of the better Overkill albums there is, although they're all great, believe me. And it's hard for me to decide whether one's better than the other to begin with. But I could kind of narrow it down to a couple that I think were their best for their time and when they were at their peak. And this was it. This album, man, it just came out and it just blew me away. The album before this, Under the Influence, was a great album too, but man, this one just topped it off. It was like all those previous albums together, but finally they got it. Finally the production and the mixing and everything, they finally figured it out, and they got the sound and they captured it, and that's what you would hear. If you go see them live, this is what you'll hear, what you hear on their albums. There's no joke, there's no, fill-ins, there's no, my vocals ain't working tonight, stuff like that. You ain't going to get that, man. You're going to get one of the best live acts ever. And Bobby Blitz, man, just belts it out just the way it would sound on the album. There's no faking it, there's no back taping or anything like that. And a lot of bands went on to advance on to be like big arena bands, or they changed their sound, when all these bands panicked, when alternative music came around, and they decided to kick their singer out, change their sound and all this stuff. Well, to hell with that, because that shit ain't no good, and nobody listens to it now, so obviously it didn't work for them. But all the Overkill albums stand the test of time, and this one really, really stands the test of time. And nobody ever, compromised their integrity because of some other genre of music that was starting to change things. They started out as a metal band and a thrash metal band, and they still are around today as a thrash metal band and a heavy metal band. I mean, their last album is just as strong as the first one, and all the ones in between are just as good too. So I have to say, though, that this album right here, The Years of Decay, is by far a really, really, really good thrash album. And if you consider yourself a thrash metal fan and you don't own any Overkill, then quit calling yourself a fan until you go get some Overkill, especially The Years of Decay, because this is probably the quintessential thrash metal album for the time. You know what I'm saying? Like I said, they don't compromise, they don't change anything, they just give it to you like it is. And when you see them, you're going to see them in a small bar, and you're going to get the real feel of the band. You know what I'm saying? You're not going to see them in a big arena where, you're not getting that correct sound inside a big coliseum or whatever. You're going to get the real deal, like you would want to hear it, like they want to hear it, like they want to sound. And that's the sound you get on their albums, too. So that's why I picked The Years of Decay as the number 4 episode of One Album Only. So if you don't own this and you like thrash metal, then go out and buy it. Believe me, you won't be disappointed. So until next time, I'll see you later.